Hello everyone. I welcome you to the August month current affairs series. Now, in this Corona time, we will be in this lockdown period, right? So I want you to use this 21 days. Stay indoor, stay safe, stay healthy, but always stay connected. Okay, stay connected and always keep on studying, because the time may be tough, but those who will use this time very effectively, they will succeed. Okay, having said that, let's start the class. Okay, so today this is the first session, as we always do. So in the first session we'll be discussing first the indexes and report, and then this time I only have some places in news for you, right? So let's start very quickly, indexes and report. One more thing before starting. So from this August month onwards, we'll be having a relatively smaller size videos. Okay, the content will be same, but the number of videos will increase, that will be on the YouTube. So please cater to that change. It will be more helpful for you to get over that inertia of the long videos. Okay, so we'll be starting our international indexes and reports. First index that we're going to see is worldwide cost of living index. Now this index is published by Economic Intelligence Unit, EIU. It is a biannual frequency, is biannual, and this is EIU. We have done few of the indexes of this particular institute. We'll also give you the compilation as I always tell you. So from the name itself, Economics Intelligence Unit, it comes of very different indexes, right? Very important indexes as well. So headquarter is in London, because many times UPSC can ask you about the headquarter of the organization also. Founded year not important. So basically it covers around 400 items and different cities, and overall from the name of the index itself, worldwide cost of living index. And this index has been carried on by 30 years. This has been done. So what items they will choose while covering the cost of living? Very obvious: food, drink, clothing, household supplies, and all this. Okay, and base of the city is New York, so they have taken New York as the base city. So if you see more details, so first time in the survey's history, three cities share the title of the most expensive city. These cities are Singapore, Hong Kong, as well as the Paris. Okay, so this is what you need to know. India, there are some cities, but they are way below, so you need to remember it from the international perspective, right? Not too much significant from Indian perspective. This is an international perspective. Remember, Economic Intelligence Unit. Okay. Next ranking that we have for you is Startup Ecosystem Ranking 2019 by the Startup Blink, a startup ecosystem and the research center. So remember, it is not World Economic Forum. As I told you every time, how to remember the indexes. It's a second report, first one published in 2017. It ranks startups of more than 1000 cities and 100 countries. Okay. So the main goal of the ranking is to feature and rank hundreds of the ecosystem rather than highlighting a few highly successful ecosystems. So overall, catering to the ecosystem, that overall in the world, the ecosystem of the startup should come up, right? This is the whole point of this particular index. With respect to India, so India has improved, in fact, 20 points India has improved, and that is why this index become relatively more important, because you know the scheme Startup India, Stand Up India, Mudra Yojana. So in all this context, we have this particular index. In this ranking of the cities, Bangalore stood at 11, New Delhi at 18, and Mumbai at 21. You can see India 20 rank improved. Okay, here. So if you see here, this diagram can be really helpful for the mains perspective as well. So Bangalore, as we know, the Silicon City of India. Chennai, emerging B2B head, business to business destination. Hyderabad, the infotech destination. Delhi, the e-commerce hub. Mumbai, the emerging fintech hub. Pune, the emerging healthcare destination. So few of the cities. So here the cities are ranked as well. Okay, and this much is important for our prelims purposes. Next is defending in a number report. Now, this particular index is released by Asia Forum of Human Rights and Development, and the heading of the report is the resistance in the face of the repression. So, this particular index, you see here, it's a biennial report that reviews the situation of the human rights defender across the Asia and the documented by Forum Asia. And this is what you have to know. And remember the name of that: Resistance in the Face of Repression, Asia Forum of Human Rights and Development. Okay. Next is Service Trade Restrictiveness Index. Service Trade Restrictiveness Index. Now you know India, the service sector is the biggest, the behemoth of the Indian economy, I'll say. First of all, given by OECD, we have already covered OECD in the last time, right? The headquarter of the OECD is in Paris. Okay, India is not a member of OECD. So it is done by OECD, launched in 2014. This particular index computes the data of 45 economy, 36 OECD plus some of the other, including India. Two instruments. One, it's take care of the regulatory database. Second, it publishes this particular index. Now, why it is relevant? Because India has found problems with the current method, under which OECD ranks countries based upon their service trade policies, indicative the outcomes are biased and counterintuitive. So India is saying that particular index, the result of this particular index are not based upon objective criteria. They are biased and they are counterintuitive. Okay, so India is obviously not liking this particular index. So just some more information about this index. This values from 0 to 1. 0 means you are completely open, your restrictiveness is very less, and 1 is you are a closed economy. So 0 is being, according to index, 0 is being good. Okay, completely closed to the foreign service provider yields the score of 1. So just remember, 0 is good and 1 is not good. Nice. Next is, so I was talking about the Indian context. So service trade, central preparing for database to strengthen the sector. So we are coming up, for example, you see, read here. The data of this particular index seems to be generated by rather arbitrary procedure and reflects the developed country bias. It disproportionately focus on whether the foreign direct investment is allowed in the service sector or not. Okay, so you see, that is why the Commerce Department officials say that the new index will give India a stronger position on the negotiating table when it comes to the ongoing talk regarding the RCEP. So this one is not important, but still. So India is coming up with its own index and saying that your index is biased. Okay, so this is much important for our purposes. Next is Global Risk Report 2019. Publisher is World Economic Forum. It describes the changes occurring in the global risk landscape from year to year and identifies the global catastrophic risk. Now, when you'll read about this, when we'll read about the details of this, you'll understand nowhere the spread of a pandemic is mentioned. Okay, so that is how Corona is going to impact a lot of our lives going forward. Okay, so if you see, so what threats they have given, that what are the expected risks. So economic confrontation, erosion of the multilateral trading rule, political confrontation, cyber attack. Nowhere you can see any biological threat or pandemic. Okay, so basically this global risk report was prepared on the survey of the nearly 1,000 experts and the decision maker across the world. Okay. Next is Democracy Index, really important index because India has criticized this particular index. It is given by the same institution, EIU, based in London. Okay, remember. So Democracy Index. So India has slipped 10 places to 51 position in the Democracy Index. It categorizes the democracies like full democracy, which are flawed democracy, which are hybrid regime, and which are authoritarian regime. So India is coming into the flawed democracy. Okay, and the report itself says the average global score fell from this to this. Not to remember the fact, just the index is saying that overall the position of democracy in the world is not well. The same inference we got also from the press freedom index. Is remember, they are also the same issue. Overall, the security of the journalist is getting compromised. In India, we have fell 2 places. For example, you see India's score. So India's score has, from here, you see here. So our score has declined. The reports mentioned the CA, NRC and JNK shut down as the reason behind India's fall. 2019 ranking. Okay, so first is Norway, Ireland, Sweden, New Zealand. And the last will be North Korea, obviously, Democratic Republic Congo. So this is what the criteria: electoral pluralism, government, political participation, political culture, and civil liberties. Not too much important, but still there are 5 categories that are considered, right? Okay. Next is greenhouse gas bulletin, and it is really important. So first of all, it is done by WMO, World Meteorological Organization. It publishes the greenhouse gas bulletin. So they come up with different for example, they come up with the data that highest carbon concentration atmosphere in the 3 million year. So this particular bulletin is based upon global atmospheric watch program. This program is also really important. Global atmospheric watch program. The report alarmed that globally average concentration of carbon dioxide reached this particular per million up from this. So they are saying that carbon dioxide is increasing carbon dioxide. That's a really pessimistic figure, so as to say. Next is Global Climate Risk Index. So it is by the German Watch. From the name itself, it's a NGO from the Germany, that is non-profit, non-government organization, location in the Bonn and Berlin. Okay, so it's a German. So German Watch Climate Risk Index 2020. Actually, this index is really relevant if you are quoting figure for disaster management. Okay, the 15th edition of annual analysis. So indicator number of death per 1 lakh inhabitants, sum total of US dollar in per PPP mode, loss per unit of GDP. So according to that, they convey that what are the risks to the particular country. Okay, so it found that Japan to be the most vulnerable country to the climate change, followed by the Philippines, Germany, Madagascar, and India. So remember just Japan name. Okay, with respect to climate. Now, with respect to they have post one more index that country is most affected by the extreme weather, not relevant for prelims. Not relevant for prelims. So if you see, so which is country most affected by the extreme events? So India is not in top 10. India is in fact in 11 to 20. From the color itself, you can see. So first is Puerto Rico, Myanmar, Haiti, Philippines, and these. Okay. So what important for you is Japan to be the most vulnerable country to the climate change, followed by Philippines, Germany, Madagascar, and India. So India is there. Okay. Next is Global Environment Outlook. Global Environment Outlook. So this report by UNEP is the 6th and the most comprehensive report on the state of global environment since the 5th edition in 2012. Okay. So this particular is UNEP. This is an important report. That's why I've covered here. So Global Environment Outlook, UNEP. The topic of the 6th report was Healthy Planet, Healthy People. So the report, it says that India could save trillions in healthcare cost if Paris climate goal are met. So being an optimistic figure that we can save it, but it's still to be seen whether we can meet our Paris pledge or not. Theme of the report, as I told you, healthy planet and healthy report. So they gave a virtuous cycle and the vicious cycle, the policy choices, the drivers, but not important from the mains, not important from the prelims perspective. Okay. So we have seen the international indexes and reports. Now we'll see Indian one. Okay. Indian indexes and reports. First one is Financial Inclusion Index. So financial inclusion itself is really very important from Indian perspective, because many of the flagship schemes are catering to this, whether it be Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana or Mudra Yojana or JAM Trinity, right? So this particular index has been launched by, not by RBI. First remember, not by RBI. It is launched by Department of Financial Services under the Ministry of Finance. It's an annual report which measures the access and the uses of the basket of the formal financial products and services that include saving, remittance, credit, insurance, pension, all these products. Okay, so basically there are 3 dimensions to it: access, uses, and the quality, whether you have access to it, whether you can use it or not, or however the quality of the product. It is also take care of the G20 financial inclusion indicators. So this is the financial inclusion index. So about the financial inclusion, it is really important, as I told you about means. Remember the definition given by RBI for the financial inclusion. In the mains time, I'll try to cover it. Okay, so what is financial inclusion? Availability, awareness, accessibility, affordability, adequacy. Okay, so major schemes, as I was telling you, different schemes were there. Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, Mudra loan, right? and product and services, new technologies, again main stuff. Next is Child Wellbeing Index. Okay, so it is released by World Vision India, one of the India's largest grassroots humanitarian NGO. So remember, not by UNICEF, not by Ministry of Child and Ministry of Women and Child Development, but a NGO. Okay, an India-based research organization. Best performer is Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and Puducherry. The worst performer is MP. That's all you need to know. The best performer obviously will be Kerala. Just remember the worst performer, it is MP. So how it measures, basically, that's a very interesting way. So they uses the Cantrell ladder of life. So what is this? It measures the life satisfaction by asking the participant, that is children, to imagine their ideal life and hopes for the future, as well as the worst future scenario of their lives and fear associated with the future. So this is it. This is how they measure the particular index. So they ask the children, so how you feel, what do you think will be your future, something like that. Next is Broadband Readiness Index. So this is published by Department of Technology. Now currently they are in the process of publishing it. Indian Council of Research on International Economic Relations signed an MOU to develop this particular index. Okay. So with respect to DOT and this particular organization, remember, not ITU. ITU is not involved in the development of this. So quickly we'll see. So BRE will be a collaborative exercise with the stakeholder, including the state government, industry associations like this, not too much important, but some of the industrial associations will be included. This is the first of a kind exercise that will be comprehensively measure the development of telecom infrastructure at the subnational level. Okay. For example, this is the criteria that they have proposed, the proposed BRE criteria. What are the different criteria they will take? But currently it is proposed, so you need to remember. I just want to mention this, mentioned in PIB actually. So I just wanted to let you know. So from where the idea of BRI is coming, not Belt and Road. Okay. So Broadband Readiness Index. So it is under this policy. We'll try to cover this policy as well. National Digital Communication Policy acknowledges the need of building a robust digital communication infrastructure, leveraging existing assets of broadcasting and power sector, including the collaborative models involving this. So basically the policy recommends a BRI for states and UT to be developed to attract the investment to address the right of the way challenge across India. That's it. So this is about BRI, and this is all the indexes we have for you. Within the first session only, in the second video, we'll be covering the location. So indexes are done. We'll be covering the locations next. Thank you.